Oh, good morning, everybody. So today we are going to discuss about extra dimensions. So, in physics, extra dimensions are proposed additional space or time dimensions beyond the 3 plus 1 typical of observed spacetime, such as the first attempts based on the Kaluza-Klein theory. So, today we are going to discuss about higher dimensions like that, just the usual higher dimensions, those kind of dimensions which you can move through. So we are currently living in a third dimension. We can move in 6 primary directions: up, down, left, right, forward, and backward. Also, 3D beings transcend 3-dimensional time. We humans are 3-dimensional beings, and we transcend 3-dimensional time. But 2-dimensional beings couldn't. But a 4-dimensional being transcends 4-dimensional time, and so on and so forth. Since our universe, since time is relevant in a 4D universe, so you see, a 4D being transcending 4D time is like a 3D being transcending 3D time in a two-dimensional universe. So yeah, it's like that. So anyway, enough with the discussion, let's go. Alright, so let's begin with this. So, this is a zero-dimensional point, which is basically nothing, or it's just a point. Basically, that's it. However, a one-dimensional line is infinitely more powerful. I mean, it's infinitely more powerful. Let's just use more powerful. If this line is a living creature and a zero-dimensional line is also a living creature, that means that this 1D line or one-dimensional creature is infinitely more powerful than this zero-dimensional creature. However, a 2-dimensional being is infinitely more powerful than a 1-dimensional creature. And a 3-dimensional being, us, is infinitely more powerful than a 2-dimensional being. Think about it. If someone or something, like one of us humans, actually transported to this 2D universe, we would have infinite power and can do whatever we want. But if an extra-dimensional being, let's say a 4D being, is placed within a 4-dimensional universe with the same dimensionality as them, they would have no power. But if there is a lower dimensional being, if there is an extra-dimensional being, if there's a lower dimensional being that is within their extra-dimensional universe, like let's say that there's a flatlander here. So let's just say that in one of your house there's a flatlander, and that flatlander is within our 3-dimensional world, and therefore we would have complete control over that 3D being. I mean, we have complete control over that 2D being, since if we live in a 3D universe, like what we live in here right now, we have no power. But if we transported a 2-dimensional being in our 3D world, then we have the ability to do anything we want with that 2-dimensional creature. It's like, a 5D or just a 1D being transported into a 3D realm. So yeah, with 3D creatures in it, basically. So these are just, so we transcend 3 different times. We transcend 1D time, we transcend 2D time, and we transcend 3D time. So anyway, let's go to the more, hold on. So we transcend 1D time, we transcend 2D time, and we transcend 3D time. Okay. So anyway, let's go to the more higher dimensions, more complicated ones, basically. Okay, so we are about to learn 4 spatial dimensions. Now, let us see. Let's see. So, a 4-dimensional space is a mathematical extension of the concept of 3-dimensional or 3D space. The 3-dimensional space is the simplest possible abstraction of the observation that he needs 3 numbers called dimensions to describe the sizes or locations of objects in the everyday world. Wikipedia, basically. So you see, a four-dimensional, you see a one-dimensional being would see a zero-dimensional world as being zero-dimensionally flat, and a two-dimensional being would see a one-dimensional world as if it was one-dimensionally flat, and a three-dimensional being would see a two-dimensional world as if it was two-dimensionally flat, and so on and so forth with higher dimensions. So yeah, you get what I'm meaning here. So, the fourth dimension is basically a dimension of time, people call it, but it's a bit confusing to me since each higher dimensional being transcends a different dimensional time that is equal to their dimensional existence. Okay, so you see, a four-dimensional being would view a 3D world as if it was three-dimensionally flat. We don't know what a three-dimensional flat is because we live in this world, in this three-dimensional world, that is. So people think that 4D beings are beings that control time, which is confusing to me since each extra-dimensional being transcends a different dimensional a different temporal time, which is equal to their dimensional existence. So yeah, it's very uncertain of why people call a 4D being a time being, since that would be since that would be like a 2D being saying that 3D beings are time beings, which is wrong. So yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that, but still. Anyway, let's move on to the next dimension. The fifth dimension. A five-dimensional space is a space with five dimensions. If interpreted physically, that is one more than the usual three spatial dimensions and the fourth dimension of time. Well, in reality, four-dimensional beings are not actually time beings. They're like us, but you see, like, if we humans are four-dimensional beings, life would be just as normal as it is in the 3D world. Since, after all, like I said, if an extra-dimensional being is placed in an extra-dimensional universe with the same dimensional existence as them, they have no power, and therefore they have, they have no power whatsoever, and they would just be like normal creatures in their extra-dimensional universe with the same dimensional existence as them. Sorry for that noise that you guys heard earlier. Maybe someone opened the door and just called my little brother to something. I don't know. Anyway, maybe my little brother is called by my mom to do something, basically. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Alright, so here are some extra-dimensional shapes, as you can see. So a fifth dimensional being would actually a fifth dimensional being would have the ability to see any parallel world in existence. But it is confusing to me. So, like, if we humans are fourth dimensional or fifth dimensional, life could be just be as normal as in the 3D world. Since, like I said, an extra dimensional being that is placed in an extra dimensional universe with the same dimensional existence as them, life would be they would be powerless in their universe, and they would be like normal creatures in that universe with the same dimensional existence as them. So, they would be just like normal people. Like, if we humans really go to the fifth dimension, or just, exist in the fifth dimension, life would be just, as normal as it is in the three-dimensional universe. Since, like I said before, an extra-dimensional being placed in an extra-dimensional universe that has the same dimensional existence as them would be seen as if they're just, normal creatures, just like us humans, just like us 3D humans living in our 3D universe. And they would have no power in that extra-dimensional universe with the same dimensional existence as them, like us humans in this 3D world. Alright guys, now let's move on to the dimension beyond the fifth. The sixth dimension. Okay, so here's the sixth dimension. So the sixth dimension is a 3D space of every possible worlds or state of our universe that exists after the Big Bang. Basically, alternate timelines, basically. Yeah, that's how it works. So basically, the sixth dimension is alternate timelines. I'm not going to explain why there's a 10-dimensional uh, Calabi-Yau manifold. Sorry, I forgot the name again. But also, I'm not going to explain why there is a 10-dimensional Calabi-Yau manifold. So, yeah, so the sixth dimension is alternate timeline. So, our multiverse can consist of 10 to 11 dimensions. But saying that is like is like a two-dimensional being saying that the universe only has the multiverse only has 9 dimensions, which is not true. And the one-dimensional being thinking that the multiverse has 8 dimensions and 8 or 9 dimensions, 9 or 10 dimensions. So okay, let me repeat that. So our universe having 10 or 11 dimensions is like a two-dimensional being saying that there are only 9 to 10 dimensions in the multiverse. I mean multiverse. Or sorry about that. Mistake. So it's like a two-dimensional being saying that a 9 dimension our multiverse can only contains 9 to 10 dimensions, which is wrong, and a one-dimensional being saying that the multiverse has 8 or 9 dimensions, which is also wrong, and a zero-dimensional being saying that our multiverse only has 7 to 8 dimensions, which is also very wrong. The reason why the reason why we predicted that there are 10 to 11 dimensions is because we live in the three-dimensional world, and with extra dimensions came extra dimensional equations, which predicted much more dimensions than the lower dimensional beings can comprehend, and therefore they are extra dimensional in some sense, of course. So this is the seventh dimension. So in the seventh dimension, you have access to the possible worlds that start with different initial conditions, whereas the fifth and sixth, the initial conditions were the same, and subsequent actions were different. Here, everything is different from the very beginning of time. Basically, alternate universes. So time. So I want to clear. So I want to. So I want to tell you guys something, which is this is my opinion, and please, please don't just misinterpret my opinion. So this is just my opinion. Maybe you guys have a different opinion. So let me know in the comments. You see, timelines, parallel and alternate timelines came from universes, and without a universe, there will be no timeline, and therefore a timeline is different from a universe. Well, they could theoretically be a universe, but still, they stem from a single universe. So yeah, basically, the seventh dimension led you to go to alternate universes, which has different starting conditions, but still has the same laws of physics, but more different. But maybe it's a bit different, like maybe too different at least. So yeah, so in the seventh dimension, you have access to alternate universes, basically. All right, so we are going to go through the eighth dimension. In the eighth dimension, you have access to every possible alternate universes out there, like cartoonish realities and like cartoonish universes and stuff like that. Yeah, basically. So anyway, like I said, so we have in the eighth dimension, you have access to every possible alternate universes in existence. So yeah, the seventh and eighth dimension are basically just accessing different alternate universes with physics slightly or more different than our own. So we move on to the ninth dimension. So in the ninth dimension, we can compare all the possible universe histories, starting with all the different possible laws of physics and initial conditions. In the 10th and final dimension, we arrive at the point which everything possible and imaginable is converted. So anyway, before we move on to the 10th dimension, we must discuss the ninth dimension first. Since in the ninth dimension, you can compare all the possible universe histories, starting with all the different possible laws of physics and initial conditions, which basically means that you have access to infinitely many universes with completely different laws of physics, and very different than our own, basically. So it's basically like accessing infinitely many worlds, which is like, infinitely many completely different worlds than our own. So yeah, that's how very incomprehensive the ninth dimension really is. But we're still not done here, folks. There are still two more dimensions, and I mean two more dimensions of the multiverse we still have to discuss. And finally, the 10th dimension. Well, not finally, at least. The 10th dimension is a single point that represents all the possible branches of every possible timeline of all the potential universes. To recall string theory, superstrings vibrating in the 10th dimension are what created the subatomic particles that make up not only our universe, but all universes. So basically, the 10th dimension is basically everything that can ever exist and will exist. I mean, the 10th dimension is basically everything that everything that will ever exist. So this means that the 10th dimension is basically the most incomprehensible dimension of all, but we're still not done here since we have one more dimension. Even though the 10th dimension represents everything that ever existed in existence, there is still one more. So this is the 11th dimension. And behold the 11th dimension. The last dimension of the multiverse. And the 11th dimension is the dimension where everything that ever was and ever will be in existence. Everything that ever existed, will existed, and can exist, basically. So yeah, folks, that's the entirety of multiversal dimensions. So that's all the 11th dimension that we are discussing today. That's all the dimensions that we are discussing today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, and peace out.